So let me just get into what I'm doing here and my intentions for this is I just did a month-long meditation retreat, and some of you know I've done a lot of meditation retreats. Um, there is there we go. I'm visible now. I've done a lot of meditation retreats. I started meditating when I was 18 years old, formally with transcendental meditation. I was offered from like a work trade my dad did with someone to be given a mantra, and I was given this simple recipe of 20 minutes twice a day, just meditate. And since then, I have learned a plethora of techniques. And if any of you have looked in the group that I created, I posted all the different techniques that I think it would be fun to teach and practice with people. Part of my intention for this is it's just a part of my life that I love, that I feel has made my life better, that I, went from being someone who kind of took everything personally and was angry a lot, and I don't know if scared a lot, but probably. And as I got into spiritual practices, meditation practices, I began to value different things like being at peace, being happy, and that's kind of what I want to share, because I know that a lot of people are feeling higher levels of anxiety right now, which is worrying about the future that is not yet here. There's lots of reasons why we could be worrying about the future that's not yet here. And it's not particularly unwise to be concerned with the future. However, meditation is a time where we practice being in the present. A lot of people will talk about any of their hobbies that bring them a type of flow state or joy and peace as a meditation, like, oh, when I'm sewing, when I'm fishing, it's like meditation. When I'm on my motorcycle, it's like meditation. And that is true. It's very nice when the rest of your life falls away and you are just in a present experience. But I was reflecting on this morning. I tend to have okay, volume is great. I'm glad to hear that. We can hear the TV in the background. There is no TV in the background. So there is Steve talking outside on his phone. So I don't know what else you're hearing. But do let me know if that continues to be a problem. Anyway, I was reflecting this morning that I do tend to feel like my life feels better if I feel that I am working towards being a little bit better every day. Because the nature of entropy is that if we don't do anything to be a little bit better every day, we fall apart. And we're going to fall apart anyway. It's fine. But I feel better if I'm doing something that I feel is making me a better person or making my life a better life, or, and so that comes, I don't know, from drinking health beverages or exercising or going for walks or meditating. So part of what I aim to give is a toolbox, like to share my toolbox of different techniques to allow you to be in the present in a way that either frees you from anxiety or depression or any other kind of unpleasant state, but also helps you understand those states to make better choices when you have to engage in that kind of behavior. Like, it is useful to think about the future in our lives, but it's not useful to have our mind constantly thinking about the future out of our control, and antagonizing us with anxiety. So that you can see, if you can respect the differences of those, is that there are times that it's good to contemplate. It's time that it's good to have judgments. It's time that it's good to have discernation. But we don't want to be subjected to our mind constantly running amok. So as one of our participants today said, that their mind, they've never been able to control their mind, that they have a very busy mind. I would encourage you not to wrestle with your mind when you meditate or try to meditate. Again, I posted something I wrote yesterday that trying to meditate is meditation a lot of the time. trying to meditate is often what meditation looks like. After a good deal of practice or certain levels of grace, we can just relax into the experience. But a lot of people have an idea that when you meditate, you're just supposed to be at peace. And that's not how life is. It's not how the world is. So meditation is usually not a time to just be at peace. It's the practice of being at peace. So occasionally you can just fall into these beautiful states of peace. And otherwise you're struggling. And that's okay. But again, with a sense of applying a technique, learning a skill, so that you can apply the practice when nothing's happening. When you meditate, you take a time out from your life, so nothing's happening, there's nothing you have to do, and you practice being at peace or healing or whatever you want to do, being happy. And then in other situations, you can apply what you learned while you were practicing with nothing happening. So today, I want to work on a technique called Samadhi, or one-pointedness. But before we get into that, I would like to take 5 minutes to just sit quietly without any teaching. So what I would like you to do is just sit, listen, and feel. You don't have to have your eyes closed, but you can if you like. You don't have to be in any special position. You can just be comfortable. 5 minutes is not a long amount of time, but it's not entirely short either to try to do nothing but be in the present. So just without any techniques, without any training, or with whatever training you already know, I just want you to take a moment to watch whatever's happening with nothing happening for 5 minutes. Breathe, listen, just be, and I will speak again in 5 minutes. All right, so go ahead and bring your awareness back to here. You just had an experience, whatever that experience was for you. It is not a bad practice to just have open awareness, trying to stay in the present. But it is very difficult. Our mind generally wants to go off. We might get triggered by hearing sounds. I'm against a road right now with lots of traffic, and my partner's standing out or sitting outside talking on the phone with someone. And whatever situation you're in, you're hearing maybe whatever ambiance is coming through the stream and whatever's happening in your life. So having open awareness, it's very easy to get distracted unless you have some tools. So the tool that I'm teaching today is apparently one of the most ancient types of meditation that was developed in India and or China and East Asia. Apparently people have been doing this for thousands of years. And it was the height of meditation practice, apparently, about 3,000 years ago. The idea is that if you can fold all of your consciousness into one object of awareness, then you can reach beautiful states of bliss. When I first started studying yoga, they said if you could stay in Samadhi for 27 years, I believe was the number, then you could transform your body into energy and become an immortal angel or something like that, that just helped the universe function. Which, that's a lofty goal. And the first time I did a meditation retreat, it was a Samadhi retreat. And I was like, we're just going to try to be in Samadhi for 8 days. It was very challenging. So I present this to you because, I don't know, again, I don't know who's watching right now. And if you read the writings that I put in the little group I created, but this is not something that you are going to try to do perfectly. It is really cool if you can get in the flow and if you can do it perfectly, but that is not the goal here. You don't have to come to it with that mindset. I want you to come to it with a mindset where you're just learning. You're just beginning. A phrase used a lot in meditation practices is beginner's mind. Every time you come to sit down, you look at it anew, and you're like, how do I do this? So the simplest form of Samadhi is to pay attention to the feeling of your breath coming in and out of your nostrils. So the bit of flesh right around the nostrils is where you want to focus your attention. If you don't have a mustache, the top of your lip is where some people will focus their attention to feel the breath moving in and out of the nostrils. And for people who can't hold either of those, you can focus on the feeling the breath makes in your belly, a slight in and out. This same practice can be applied to any object, something you're hearing, something you're seeing. A lot of people, you may have heard of looking at a candle flame and just focusing on that. So understand that you can do this with any object of attention, but the one that you always have available to you is your breath. And one of the things that's fascinating about the breath is if you try to control your breath, which all of us can, you can hold your breath, you can stop your breath, you can breathe deeper or shallower, but as soon as you stop paying attention to your breath, it just goes right on breathing again. So it's an interesting object that we live with our whole life, and we take it for granted because we've never been alive without it, right? So find a place, like as I'm speaking right now, see if you can feel the breath coming in and out of your nostrils. If you're breathing through your mouth, I've never tried that before, but I suppose you could focus on the breath coming in and out through your mouth. And we're going to, again, without much discussion, we're going to sit for another 5 minutes just to see what it's like to try to focus just on the sensation of breathing. The feeling of the breath moving in and out of the body. So I'll set the timer and come back to you in 5 minutes. Hmm. So, again, just take a moment, letting go of trying to hold on to one object, and just reflect on how that made you feel and what the experience was like for you. There are many benefits that can come from this practice. One of them is choosing to do something entirely internal and achieving it. Again, it's very difficult, but you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to try and watch the experience as it unfolds. Meditation attempts to be a practice to be present with reality in a peaceful, skillful, wise way. So when you're doing this, you want to focus on being kind to your experience and kind to the process. Friendly. Meaning that if you choose, I'm going to sit for an hour, I'm going to sit for 15 minutes, I'm going to sit for a half hour, whatever you choose, 5 minutes, and I'm going to watch the sensation of the breath. Probably a lot of that time will be spent getting distracted by how your body feels, or noises from outside, or thoughts, right? All sorts of things will distract you from that experience. Some of them will feel like boredom. Some of them will feel like worry or restlessness or doubt. Like, this is stupid. Why am I even doing this? These are common meditation experiences. I will do a Dharma talk on that some other time. And again, there are tons of different meditation techniques. This is the simplest. And one of the things that's nice about it, again, it gives you a sense of, I can choose to do something and I can do it. Sometimes. Sometimes it just makes you frustrated because you can't do it. But if you can be at peace with that frustration, that's okay. If you can achieve folding all of your consciousness into an object of attention, there are these things that happen that are usually referred to as jhanas. Jhanas, whenever it's a word that talks about the way consciousness will fold inward and then expand outward. So a lot of the time when I focus on Samadhi practice, I will notice the mind being distracted and going out places. And I will sometimes consciously use words like, okay, come back here, come back here. I'll feel the attention go to a sound or a thought or a feeling in the body. The attention will go maybe into the future, into the past. And as soon as I notice that the attention has lost the object, I will say, come back. So it's like I'll feel a pulling back of attention. And at times it can feel like a gathering of self. Like, again, if you try to do this often and you try to do this a lot, you will feel how scattered your mind can be, or your awareness, even more than just your mind. You'll feel how scattered it can be. And practicing pulling it back from the future, pulling it back from the past, pulling it back from dissatisfaction, anger, or worry, because again, like if your body hurts, and spoiler alert, our bodies kind of are always uncomfortable, so the body will be like, well, I need to pee, or I need to eat something, or I need to drink something, or my back hurts, or my knees hurt, or whatever. When the body's doing that, again, it's not about denying it, but it's about pulling awareness back to the object of attention. And it can be used at any moment. It's a very useful skill. Again, the practice of meditation is a practice for the rest of our lives. And so often we choose to do something and something just derails us. And if you practice this skill, you can notice when it happens and just come back to what it is you mean to be doing. So when I was speaking earlier about being kind, being friendly with the process, when you notice you've been derailed or distracted and you want to return to the present, you are friendly about it. You are kind about it. You're pulling the attention back in a nice way. You're not beating yourself for, I can't ever get my mind to focus. When you notice your mind gets like that, and it will get like that, do your best to smile, reset. One of the techniques I use is, okay, I quit, I give up, I forget it, and then I just relax, and then I'm like, okay, let's try again. So whatever works for you, but like if you're driving yourself crazy, that's not what you want to be doing. So watching the temperature of the mind, perhaps. If you're getting frustrated or you're just like, oh, I can't do this, then just give up, relax, and start again. So if you feel like trying again, I would recommend, let's see, I could set the timer for 15 minutes. I think I've said, oh, actually, no, I'll speak a little bit more about jhanas, and then I'll have us just do a longer meditation, and then I'll end this live stream. And then if you want to, we can talk in the chat. If you're not in the chat, you can send me a message. And if there's no discussion afterwards, that's fine. But I'm just going to say a little bit more. So this is probably not going to happen now. But again, it's giving you a sense of what commonly can happen in this type of meditation practice. That if you do let all of your consciousness focus on an object of attention, in this case, the feeling of the breath, these jhana things can happen, and there's multiple layers of jhana. But I'm just going to talk about 5 experiences that are common with the early stages of jhana. One of them is that you will notice that you're actually being able to focus all of your attention on the object. That will be something that happens. There'll be this, it's not necessarily a thought process, it's a being experience where you're like, oh, this is happening. I'm choosing this object and I'm fully engaged with it. I'm being able to experience it as it happens. And again, you can control your breath, but this practice is not about controlling your breath. It's just about watching it. So sometimes when it's actually happening, when all of your attention focuses on it, you will notice this change in your consciousness where you'll be like, oh, I am actually focusing, I'm holding this object with attention and seeing it, experiencing it, learning about it, being actually curious and interested in it. That's like, those are 2 actual different experiences, the being able to hold it and then the actual experience of watching it and learning about it and being with the unfolding, because it's not static, it's this constant moving thing. One of the other things that happens is you can have this state of bliss pass through you that is like a delicious kind of high, like you just become giddy and joyful and joyful, giddy, ecstatic. It's just this like bliss that flows through you. And it's a common experience. When you start to fold into this one point, you suffuse with joy. Your whole mind radiates joy. And it's a very nice sensation. One of the other common experiences is peace, where you feel this like relaxation just roll through you, and it just folds. It's, I don't know, it just kind of waves over everything, and everything just feels very peaceful. And the last common experience is like an equanimity, where you're kind of at peace and you're kind of joyful, but you're just this really balanced, grounded, centered sense of self. I think is a good way of putting it. Self is maybe a little... When you become one with an object of attention, the sense of self sometimes dissipates entirely, and you're just you're outside of time and space. You just come into this awareness of peace, balance, wholeness. So I put this forward. It's not like you're chasing these things, but the tendency of the mind is to pick at things that annoy us, like, oh, that sound is irritating me, or the pain in my back, and our mind tends to complain. But there are lots of good reasons for that. If something dangerous is happening, then if you're not paying attention to it, you can get injured. But if something's good happening, you can ignore it because it's good and it's fine. So I'm telling you these things because if you notice them, it is really good to take a moment and bask in the goodness of that experience when you're meditating. Because part of what we're doing is trying to retrain our brain towards habitually being like this. And if you pour some sugar on it, your brain will be much happier. So when you notice a state of bliss, or you notice a state of peace, or you notice a state of expansive, balanced oneness, it's really good to be like, oh yeah. Also, that sensation of I'm actually holding onto the object, I'm actually experiencing the breath, or the sensation of the breath. I am the experiencing of the sensation of the breath. When you notice that actually happening, by basking in that experience, by really honoring and being aware of it and being like, wow, this is really happening, that fuels you in the times you're meditating and you're like, I can't get my mind to shut up, I'm totally distracted. But when you feel like that kind of restlessness or doubt, then you can return to be like, well, I have actually had moments of stillness and bliss and peace and awareness. So I just bring those up because they are common experiences in this jhana process, that when you actually get to hold on to the object. But again, we're not fighting. We're being very friendly. We don't have to try too hard. We just have to be with the experience in a gentle way. One of the teachers I love to use, like, it's right next door to what you're doing all the time in your ordinary life. It's just you're choosing to experience the present in this way and watching what happens. So we're going to try that again. I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. And again, you can sit as long as you want, or you can go do something else. You can challenge yourself to see if you can stay with your breath for even longer after I've talked, because if you're really focused, all the other sounds and everything don't matter. And if you want to ask any questions, once this is over, then you can either type in the comments here, or you can come to the chat room and I'll open up like a audio stream and we can talk about this a little bit. I always appreciate some feedback with much love and gratitude. So I'm going to sit silently, try to focus on just the experience of breathing with kindness, friendliness, patience, and appreciation.